Hey guys, what's going on? What day is it today? Jeez, it's Thursday the 19th. This is Sean Empire, and welcome to Better Assholes. Here we are doing this again, podcasting again, or just waking up again and living through another day. Who knows? So, anyways, I have to ask myself that question, right? It is just so weird. Besides, there's been Trump stuff and Canada stuff and society stuff, war stuff, Russia stuff, Ukraine stuff, Israel stuff, every type of stuff you can name, we got stuff. But you know what I wanted to start with is kind of weird. And today sounds a lot different than normal days. Why? Because it's kind of unscripted. And the reason for that is once upon a time, now I'm not just hopping on this bandwagon, but once upon a time, or a bunch of times upon months, bunch of other times, I've kind of done this stuff. What stuff, you ask? Well, I've done all this radio stuff back in the past, and I remember, starting a radio show with friends back in the 90s for the first time, and then doing a few other, I guess, online radio sessions with, various groups, organizations, doing some with friends, doing some with my post-secondary education where I did some work as a director of something, I think technical director at the radio station. So, I had a few things going on, did a lot of entertainment and shows and media and whatever. So I had a lot of involvement in that. And, I eventually got out of that scene. And a lot of that was at the time when the millennials started popping up, I guess, born and start doing stuff in the 20, I'd say kind of 20s. It was very, things were very different. And so at some point, it wasn't really worth trying to keep up with how things were going because we had such a shift. And it's kind of weird because if I look at Gen Z compared to Gen X, I find them very similar. If you look at the millennials stand out incredibly because as you know, it's a lot of millennials, especially when you get into, the ones that were born later on, they were very, I guess, pampered. And, where Generation X, you'd wake up and you tell your parents, you say, okay, I'm going outside, and you're gone all day. Maybe you'll pop in for lunch and you're gone. You come home, you're muddy, you're sweaty, you got cuts, you've got bruises, whatever. You had no cell phone, no social media. You had a quarter if you're lucky and some payphones, and that was it. And your parents didn't worry. They know you'd come home and you weren't going to be on drugs or drunk or beat up or kidnapped or raped or whatever. It was, life was a different story back then. And, you know, that was nice to grow up in. The millennials had that time where their parents were, I guess, what they call helicopter parents. Your parents would stand next to you, your parents were going to you, with your friends, and no sleepovers, no going out anywhere. Here's your cell phone, here's your tracker. Make sure, we know where you are at all times. And I think that type of upbringing then is why you have a lot of problems now. I think a lot of the woke people, I mean, if you look at wokeism, I mean, it's not really Generation X driving wokeism. It's not the boomers driving wokeism. It's not even in Generation Z driving wokeism. It's the millennials that drove that wokeism. They drove every TV show has to be, female and queer. Every video game has to be female and queer. They're driving that narrative. That wasn't boomers and Gen X, not even Gen Z. Gen Z doesn't even care about that stuff, right? So it was just that weird time. And even, with the transgender thing, this is a lot of the kids of these millennial people that are going through this time in their life. Those people, that's what's going on there. It's their kids. There's so much going on. So I'm not going to keep so I've lost track. Not going on millennials here. I'm not just trying to, but I mean, you see where we've gone. It's just a weird world. Everything's different, and it's really changed things. So we've gone through some times, Anyways, looping back into my initial point there is that, you know, things have changed, so I've been doing this for a while. Podcasting has changed. School's changed. Things have changed throughout the years. I had a lot of experience, in the radio and promotion and this and that and whatever, as I said. But part of it was really the fact that it's something, I was good at, I enjoyed and whatever. But I gave up, as I said. And I mumbled into the millennials changed things where having radio shows, any type of, TV shows, comedy shows, anything that had your opinion in it was risky. If your opinion wasn't a super liberal opinion, an alt left opinion, you had to have that very, very left opinion. As we said, like in movies and the Disney Channel and whatever, everything has to be kind of female and gay now. And so it kind of closed a lot of doors for people kind of doing this stuff for, quite some time. I remember how many times Joe Rogan was attacked for his views and, pretty much every, quote unquote shock jock or, left or right of center host was, basically given the cold shoulder just based on, hey, you're probably on the conservative side. You don't believe in the woke agenda and here we are out to get you. So I really I stopped being creative. I stopped getting in media. I stopped being in that scene because, it was just a matter of time till, you know, you knew it was over for you, right? You really can't enjoy creativity or freedom of expression if you have tropes of people that want to destroy that free speech and that freedom of expression and that creativity because they don't believe in creative items, right? This is why you turn on channels like the Disney Channel. It's nothing but garbage again and again and again, right? It's just remakes of garbage and then remakes of that garbage. Some of these TV shows and movies on Disney are just remakes of garbage with garbage skins on it to make it look like a different pile of garbage. So it's really impressive how they go to screw that up, right? Anyways, back to the basics. I popped out of that scene kind of well before podcasts were kind of a thing. And so I slowly dipped my foot in this type of stuff, podcasting, radio shows, YouTube, whatever. But it's hard because you have to maintain that image and that style and that, whatever. Because we saw it, somebody says one wrong word and that's it. That's your career is done. You're canceled. People are, trying to burn down your house. It's crazy. So I just said, you know what, it's better for me to avoid that stuff. But, as we move back into a time where people are starting to regain their freedom and expression of, just talking about what they want to talk to or talk about, it's given a lot of new rise to all sorts of people. You see this on, say, YouTube and Twitch, especially YouTube. I think YouTube would be number one for whatever kind of degeneracy that you're into. It's there, not including explicit stuff, but I mean, a lot of people, whether it's, dumb pranks or whatever, a lot of these people have figured out how to amuse small minds or amuse people that just have, better things to do than watch the bullshit that you generally see on TV and the movie theaters nowadays. So, I mean, that's why YouTube's flying, Twitch, Kick, whatever. A lot of those streaming platforms are now seeing a lot more people gravitate because, hey, you could find some people that have something that's an interest with, you as well. That brings you guys here, right? There's a chance that you're listening to this because you say, hey, I want to figure out what this guy's saying and maybe I relate to what he's talking about and I find it interesting. And I hope you do. So this goes back to 1, 2, or 3, and wherever we are now, maybe possibly 4 or possibly just 3 still. But it doesn't matter. We're on to the new point. The new point is what I was getting into for the last 11 minutes has been, I'm going to take this in a different direction because based on everything, you know, especially when it comes to, I guess, something like podcasting, you'd figure, hey, I have to go and, you know, subscribe to the norm. I have to sound like everybody else. I have to follow the script. And, I started doing this and I said, okay, so I need to do some research, write some scripts, do some stuff, add some pointers, blah, 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 blah. I don't have the attention span to be doing this stuff. I have other things that, I really want to be doing. Not saying that I don't want to give the valuable time to be doing this. It's just that I don't think I can succeed trying to script something. So script my mind, script my opinion, and say, hey, this is what's on my mind, but I had a day to think about it and write a script about it, and then be able to kind of go off script and just fucking derail everything. So I don't know. I said to myself, you know what? I am so good when it comes to just talking and not reading and trying to talk and trying to figure out stuff and whatever. So here we go. Some people like it, some people don't like it, but maybe you can relate. Maybe you can't. Who knows? But I think the new direction would be much better because we could just go. And I'm still going to figure out a topic or some topics or some things to talk about or whatever. But you know what? You're going to like it. You're going to like hang out with me and listening, because what are you doing right now? Who knows? Right? I don't know. But you're listening because, right? If you heard this, you're listening because nobody's clipping this. Anyways, so let's get back to the next side of things. Where are we? So we're 13 minutes into this. So what have we learned here? That I'm not going to go by the script. Millennials kind of fucked everything up. And now that we're getting back into freedom of speech and, maybe the woke era is kind of ending, this is a nice opportunity to be able to talk to people and have a good time doing so in, a podcast type format. So that's absolutely peachy. So, yes, that brings us back to some other wholesome goodness. And that wholesome goodness is what is going on in this crazy world that we live in right now. Do you know? I don't know. I like to say I do know, but it's very, very tricky. Oh, the kind of funny part here about what's been going on lately, and let me talk from a perspective. I think we'll probably just go on one discussion about this, and that's Canada. Let's go back to Canada. Holy cow. So I wanted to do something to just cover this, but you know, the definition of narcissism would definitely have to be Trudeau. I am absolutely stunned. It blows it blows my mind. My mind is blown. I have a blown mind. As we know. So this would be a segment. This is the second segment. Let's call that. That segment one was, hey Sean, are you off script? Second segment is Trudeau. Okay. So here's the thing with Trudeau. You're in a crazy dictatorship run by a narcissist clown when your own party, basically your party is falling apart. Your party is telling you to resign. Your party members are resigning. Your ministers are resigning. Your deputy prime minister resigned and pretty much said that you're the problem. Your deputy prime minister has said, hey, I'm going to resign. And I mean, what I take from it, I think what most people took from it was, you're trying to buy votes, right? Because I mean, that's what these financial incentives are. Okay, so you're trying to buy votes with the taxpayers' money. You're pulling these schemes like, we're going to tax you, carbon taxes or whatever. We're going to tax you and then we're going to give you a tiny percentage as, like, oh, as a rebate. Like, well, if you don't take the money in the first, like, if, like, it's a scam, right? It's like a Ponzi, right? If somebody says to you, hey, you give me money and next year I'm going to give you back a small percentage. I'm going to give you 5% of the money you gave us. How does that sound? It's the dumbest thing ever. And this is what we're doing with this government. That the $250, that everything's but at the end of the day, you're taxing people, you're giving away the money. I mean, you gave it to Ukraine, you gave it to whatever countries in Africa and South America and South Asia and whatever. So this doesn't make anything good for the Canadian people when you tax people several thousands of dollars extra so that you could send that money abroad. And then when Canadians need that money, as you see by the people living in tents and homeless shelters and the streets, those people need the money more than they need it in Palestine. And you know what? Some people may give me, a bit of a pain about that, but let me tell you something. We're in Canada. So if you're fucking throwing rocks at people in a different country and you're starting wars or whatever, that's your kind of problem over there, right? That's with these protesters or whatever. Guess what? It's your own kind of problem, right? If you're in Canada and you're protesting what's going on in Palestine, I suggest you hop on a plane, you go to Palestine with your cardboard signs and you protest in Palestine and you see what happens. I would suggest, rather than wasting your time in Canada protesting at schools and streets and whatever, you go to Palestine, as I said, with your signs. And you try that over there, throw rocks at people over there and mouth off to the Israeli soldiers. Do that for a chance and see how that improves your liking over there and how stuff gets accomplished. And you could also feel free while you're over there to speak to some Hamas terrorists and see if they're going to stop attacking Israel. And then, I mean, at that point, you just say, hey, you know what? Guess what? If you guys stopped attacking, then they would probably stop counterattacking and we would resolve the whole issue. But that's a whole other conversation. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. Let's right now get back to this conversation. And this conversation right now that we're talking about is something completely different. We're talking about Canada and how Trudeau sucks. And Trudeau sucks. But everybody knows that except liberals, except most of the people that work for the government. And this usually includes teachers and other unionized employees. Like, it's insane. Anyways, I just wanted to put that out there. This is a crazy, episode. And I think I'll probably just record something else for you guys that is less of maybe I was going to say something. And I think it's one of those words that they probably banned. Oh, yeah. It's kind of a pain in the ass there. But I'm going to figure something else out, and then we're going to come back and do something else on a different note. But this was more about the shift in tone. But anyways, guys, here we go. What I'm going to do is round 2. So we'll do another one. This is kind of fun. Hopefully, somebody enjoys it, right? Okay, so better assholes. This is Sean, and I'm signing out, and we will see you next time. Peace.